Well, here it is, the down payment for the Curly Jack place, but I'm actually disobeying escrow instructions. I'm supposed to wire the funds to the escrow company, but since I am a third-class citizen, not worthy of doing business with the corporate banking system, I can only withdraw my VA benefits through cash or with a money order. So they accepted my earnest money payment, so hopefully they'll accept that. Who knows? Perhaps there's a provision of the Patriot Act that prohibits people like myself from owning real estate. But anyway, we're just checking out emptying out the truck, getting ready to go up to Oregon tomorrow to obtain supplies and tools, and just gonna try to get closing on that freaking property. I mean, God, it's almost been 2 months that we've been playing around with this, but you know, good things come to those wait and who are patient and have purpose, you know. So anyway, I don't know. I'm kind of worried, you know, about that, because the freaking bankers, you know, they always want you to have a freaking bank account, and they want to know if you're a good slave, and if you're not a good slave, you know, you don't get to use their money, you know, basically. So it doesn't matter if you have, you know, wealth or something of value. To the bankers, that doesn't mean anything. What means something to them is that you have a good credit score, that, you know, you pay on time, and that you've got employment, and you know, a whole list of other things. It's just interesting because since I've been relisted in the telephone book, I've been getting a whole rash of collection calls, and these are from back when I lived in Ohio in 2008. And it's like, sorry guys, man, it's like 5 years old, man. It's invalid debt. They maintain that it's valid because they just bought it, and they're willing to settle it for, you know, a fraction of the value, because they bought it at a discount. They bought it at a nickel, dime, 15 cents on the freaking dollar. And of course they want you to pay on it so they can make their money back. But yeah, this is portfolio recoveries. They're really interesting because they call from all kinds of different places, and, you know, it's all automated. And then when the person gets on there, either when they're going through their spiel and they're saying, oh yeah, we might record this conversation, I go, oh, I don't like that, click. Or like I just tell them straight up, you know, it's an invalid debt, dude. You guys aren't gonna get payment on it. And yeah, like stuff to tell, another stuff to tell bankers and debt collectors and freaking assholes like that. There's this one guy from back east, I think, yeah, Ohio again. And this guy's all like saying he's a lawyer, and, you know, if I paid up today, he wouldn't have to litigate anymore. And I was all like, oh, really? I was all like, well, dude, get to work. He's all like, excuse me? I said, well, litigate away, dude, because I'm not paying you anything. And, you know, that's what the bankers want you to think, you know, that you owe them something for them creating something from nothing, you know. And that is the whole problem with our monetary system right now, is that there are no checks and balances. There's not even a debt ceiling. Congress doesn't even acquiesce to, accepting more debt. They've just, acquiesced to the point that they don't care how many zeros go into debt, just as long as their pensions are paid and they have different benefits than the Social Security Administration is custodian of. They don't care. They'll keep freaking taxing and spending. They don't care. That's why we need to withdraw our support of, these corporations, because that's all they are. Is another company. Just because they call themselves the United States of America and the state of California and stuff, that don't mean nothing, because that's not that's not the form of government that we were established under. I mean, we're all guaranteed a Republican form of government. And more often than not, every policy that the government implements is a communist policy, which is contrary to the Constitution. It helps manifest collectivism, reduction of personal freedoms, civil liberties, in the name of the state or corporate interests, which are all corporations. So I say we fight fire with fire. We create our own corporations, and we utilize a monetary system that is beyond their control. Because they have a monopoly on all fiat currencies. They're all controlled by sovereign governments and their associated central banks. So I think it's really who of the freedom movement in the world. It just doesn't matter. I'm not just talking about the State of Jefferson. I'm talking about freedom worldwide, because we all live under this economic tyranny that the International Monetary Fund and Bank of International Settlements institutes all over the world. And we know what happens to states that, don't play with the bankers' game. States like Cuba, North Korea, Iran, Libya. In fact, the very interesting thing is when the rebels got a hold of Libya, what was the first thing that they did? They opened a central bank, which Gaddafi was very much against. He was very much for a commodity-based currency on oil, gold, especially for the African nations, since they all export those commodities to Europe for fiat currency. So that's what we need to do in the rural counties that have been hit really hard by the economy in the last 5 years, is we need to take away the monopoly that we have given, to the bankers because of our inaction, because we have not founded organizations that will fill our interests better. We, by default, are consenting to the tyranny that we experience today. the destruction of the value of the wealth that we create. We all do that by accepting these things called Federal Reserve notes. Just because there's pictures of dead presidents. Hey, there's a Mason. There's a Mason. There's another Mason. There's a Mason there too. So, these guys all we're not necessarily champions of liberty. I mean, because they're all for taxation. And I have a plan to fund the state of Jefferson without any taxation whatsoever. And I think that will be essential to breaking the California monopoly, because California don't know how to restrain its spending. It can't restrain its spending because it is such a vast welfare state. So we're going to have another tax revolution, because most of the taxes that we pay are voluntary. Believe it or not, you don't have to pay income taxes. It's an unapportioned tax prohibited by the Constitution. But the corporate system benefits from that. So that's why they got rid of gold and silver as money, because it's a lot easier to print up what you need than actually do work and get it out of the ground, or transport that stuff around, like gold and silver, transport it around to actually provide value, something of intrinsic value, to give this consideration in your economic activity. So I don't know. This is really bad, because owning land is probably the most important thing that anybody will ever buy. Land to live on and try to make a living on. Not necessarily a profit, a living. Just because you go out and grow a crop, it doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna make money, green money, especially Federal Reserve notes. All I did was I grew a plant, So how does growing a plant equal income? It doesn't. It just represents a possible value for a commodity. It's not an absolute value, because depending on where you are, it may be worth more, maybe worth less. That's totally subjective upon local supply and demand. And that's what we need. We need a free system and the ability to supply all of demand to have a truly free working market, which sadly say the United States does not have, because the means of production are concentrated in the elite that have control of the baking cartel. So it doesn't matter to them how much they have to print every day. It's like 2 billion, 3 billion a day. that they have to actually print up to pay the bills just for the United States, which is more than 50% of the gross national product. Sounds like communism to me, central planned economy. But Barack Obama will tell you he's president of the United States, which he is a corporation which operates in the District of Columbia, which is not part of the republic formerly known as the United States of America. But anyway, we need to have honest money to really make everything work well. Otherwise, you're going to have booms and busts, kind of just like the Federal Reserve was created to produce. I mean, actually, they were created for a couple of reasons. One, to create the invisible tax inflation by stealing your productivity. And it's happened in the United States within 20 years. Every generation, 100% or 20% of the value is lost. So in 1913, when the Federal Reserve was founded, the dollar now has less than 1 cent of that value left. So just think about that. And it's kind of amazing that we haven't had a collapse like other countries have when they have, fiscal problems. The big difference is that we're the empire. We're the evil empire, and we still have a military that accepts those dollars. So until the servicemen and women demand constitutional money for protecting a constitution, we're lost. Where are you oath keepers out there? I don't know. Could be just another freaking wave and, a slow tailspin down. It took a Roman Empire hundreds of years to decline to the point where it was no longer a governable, it was no longer, a consistent or a continuous empire. It split in half and then, existed that way for a while. And then the Holy Roman Empire is what persisted after that. So the rise and fall of financial fortunes and empire have always been part of history. So why are we so ignorant of what history teaches us and think that we're going to do something any different? I mean, especially when we don't even follow God's laws or man's laws. I mean, that's like a person who's, saying that they're Satan or something, a deceiver. And that definitely wasn't what this country was founded on. Most people would say it's created on Christian beliefs and principles. But, yeah, really? Is it? I mean, it needs to be separation of church and state, but I mean, when you can't even free practice your religion, we're lost. We're lost because of the money. So, I don't know. We'll see if this real estate thing works out. Because it'd suck if I still had to freaking wire that money. But anyway, Chris McCraw, happy Camp California. Getting ready to buy another little piece of heaven right out here in the Siskiyou. County, California.